esteemed panelists, starting with Your Excellency, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the former President of Liberia. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Your Excellency, Ms. Amina Jane Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations and Chair of the United Nations Sustainable Development Group. Thank you as well. Honorable Minister of Women Affairs and former Deputy Governor of Plateau State, Mrs. Dame Pauline K. Talon, thank you also for being with us. We also have the Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament, Honorable Sidi Mohammed Tunis, with us and gracing us with your presence. Your Excellency, Mrs. Bissi Adele Fayemi, the First Lady of Ekiti State, thank you as well. We also have Your Excellency, Dr. Olufolake Abdurrahman Abdurazak, the First Lady of Kwara State. Thank you very much. We have Your Excellency, Hajia Mariam Mairo Rambual, First Lady of Sokoto State as well. Ms. Anna Ras, Swedish Deputy Head of Mission to Nigeria. Thank you as well. And we have the UN Women Representative to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Ms. Comfort Lamptey. Thank you for being in attendance. I also want to thank the World Bank Country Director for Nigeria, Mr. Shubham Chowdhury, and the World Bank Country Manager for Liberia, Mr. Kiwina Ntara. Last but not least, we have the Special Advisor to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on Finance and Economy, Dr. Sarah Amutunde Alade, if I'm not mistaken, unless she isn't here, maybe I am mistaken. Ladies and gentlemen of the press and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you all again for being here with us. As we're seeing more women entering the political arena and holding executive and parliamentary office across Africa, we namely ask today, how does such parity and inclusion translate into the average woman life? We also address some of the policies and actions that are urgently needed to tackle the many avenues of gender inequality, marginalization of women and girls, and the overarching plague that is patriarchy. I am Hanan Farjani, and I will be moderating today's exchanges. But first and foremost, His Excellency and host of today's conference, Governor of Kwara State, Abdurrahman Abdurazak, will kick off our conference today with his welcome remarks. If you'll please listen to his welcome remarks. Thank you so much. Whenever you're ready, Governor. There seems to be maybe a technical issue with the line from the governor. Let me just give him a minute to connect or to reconnect if he's logged out. We'll just give it a few seconds if you don't mind. Governor, can you hear me? Well, I think that the next best thing to do while we try to solve that issue, and so that we don't get too delayed with our proceedings and our program, is maybe to move on to the goodwill message of Her Excellency Amina Mohammed, who is the Deputy Secretary General.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Great.
Got it.
Okay. All right. So, Excellency, you're on. We're listening. Thank you.
Well, happy Independence Day to Nigeria. It's a 60th. We're all happy. I'm moving in the right direction. Your Excellency, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, former President of Liberia, Your Excellency Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations and Chair of the United Nations Sustainable Development Group. Honorable Minister of Women Affairs and former Deputy Governor of Plateau State of Nigeria, Mrs. Pauline Talen. The Speaker of the West African Parliament, Honorable Saidi Mohammed Tunis. Your Excellency, Mrs. Bisi Adele Fayemi, the First Lady of Ekiti State. Your Excellency, Dr. Mrs. Olufolake Abdurazak, the First Lady of Kwara State. Your Excellency, Haja Mariam Merotambo, the First Lady of Sokoto State. Ms. Anne Ras, the Swedish Deputy Head of Mission to Nigeria. The United Nations Women's Representative to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Ms. Comfort Lamptey. The World Bank Country Representative to Nigeria, Mr. Shoban Chaudhry. The World Bank Manager for Liberia, Mr. Kirina Ntara. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the people and government of Kwara State, I welcome you all to this historic event. It's our first gender equality conference in Kwara State and reaffirms our commitment to gender parity, women protection, empowerment, and inclusion. The conference is timed to galvanize global opinion around the agenda for women in Africa and represents a strong platform for state and non-state actors to discuss domestic, bilateral, multilateral strategies to increase women's participation in societies. We are joined at this conference by some of the strongest voices advocating for better opportunities for women in Africa. Kwara State is actively taking the lead in the campaign for gender inclusion because we are convinced that a society works better and grows faster when no one is denied equal opportunities to succeed. And we have no regret pushing this noble agenda. We have appointed 56% female cabinet in Kwara State and ensured that around 50% of our permanent secretaries in the civil service are qualified women. Similarly, top government positions across the MDAs are held by very accomplished women, and we're looking forward to assisting our women to take a noble course in their elective offices. Working on gender equity also means providing opportunities for improving livelihood for women. As much as over 70% of beneficiaries of our microcredit scheme, loans of course, under the social investment program are women. Indigent old women are also prioritized in our safety net program, in which we give monthly allowances to the elderly. We have cooperated on the economic front with the federal government through the central bank in various programs, giving women access to land. Also, one of such programs is partnering with Central Bank of Nigeria in distributing 200,000 Naira dual-purpose chicken to 10,000 women across Kwara State. I must say it's a program for the whole of Nigeria, but we have quickly embraced onto that program through the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. We also partner with many organizations, such as the Dangote organization, which has empowered 16,000, unprecedented 16,000 women in Kwara. We thank Dangote organization for that. And On the political side, we also want to thank the President of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, for appointing women into federal position. Aside from appointing a minister from Kwara, the chief economic advisor to the president, Dr. Mrs. Sarah Lade, who was a former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, is an appointee as a chief economic advisor. We thank him for that. The recent appointment of Hajia Farida Dankaka as the chairperson of the strong and powerful Federal Character Commission is also a woman from Kwara, and that position we would push and lobby her to make sure she ensures gender inclusion in her position. And part of what we are also advocating for is a gender commission, because we have a Federal Character Commission. We also think there's the need for a gender commission to push the agenda we've been trying to push forward. As I've mentioned recently, however, gender inclusion will again for this reason, I call on development partners to make gender inclusion a condition for state actors to access certain support. I once again welcome all of you to this conference and wish you very fruitful deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Governor of Kwara State, for those welcome remarks and for just laying out how much the state of Kwara has done in terms of championing gender equality. We will now listen to Her Excellency Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, who will give a goodwill message before we actually get into the nitty-gritty of the subject. We do have a problem with the sound, so we will try that again.
All right, it's 22 minutes past 2 here on Women Radio WFM 91.7. Perhaps you just joined us, yes, on Nigeria's first and only radio station for women and their families. This afternoon, we're having presently live on radio the first annual Kwara Gender Equality Conference. Of course, it is a webinar, and today the theme centers on galvanizing the will to take actions on gender equality and women empowerment. And of course, you can also keep it locked here on Women Radio WFM 91.7. We have amazing speakers, that will be taking this webinar with us today, talking about the United Nations Deputy Secretary General, Her Excellency Amina Mohammed, and she's presently live on the platform this afternoon, and we'll be transmitting back to the United Nations Deputy Secretary.
So there is still an issue with the screen sharing that we've been trying to.
And also, coming from the platform, we've had the governor of Kwara State, give out his welcome address with regards to the webinar this afternoon, and he has also stated on how Kwara has, championed the cause and have taken the lead as well in the fight for gender equality. He also stated that at the moment he's got 56% of his of his cabinet totally occupied by female, and that's, trust me, an amazing one. Then he's also stated on how 50% qualified women also have taken position in the civil service, and that's coming from the welcome address given by the governor of Kwara State, His Excellency Governor Abdul Rahman Abdul Razak. We still have other notable speakers who will be enlightening us on the program, on the webinar this afternoon, in person of Her Excellency First Lady of Ekiti State, that's BC Faimi. We've also got Her Excellency the First Lady of Kwara State, That's in person of Dr. Mrs. Olufolake Abdul-Razak. We've also got, Mrs. Comfort Lamptey. She's also the women representative to Nigeria and ECOWAS. And of course, we'll still do all to ensure that we transmit to the live webinar at the moment, so you still get abreast of the ongoings presently. And at the moment, we've got Zuera Yusufu also trying to, converse with us on the situation of things.
Women health-related issues. We have an empowerment program, which Nancy has mentioned, which we are rolling out across the country to all 774 local government areas in all the states. Each one of these, 1,000 women per local government area, which means 16,000 women in the process. So, Your Excellency, we should be there soon to flag this off and get this program started. We're doing this across the country. Everything we do is about this. And so Aliko Dangote wanted me to make sure that you knew this. He supports gender inclusion. We're working on women on boards. We're working on supporting issues around women in the workplace. And so as a very, I'm going to call him a gender-aware father of 3 daughters, he really understands the importance of promoting women and giving women an opportunity to be all that they can be in the workplace and everywhere else. So all of our support and congratulations go to this conference. And thank you so much for the opportunity to speak, and well done to Your Excellency, Governor Abdul-Razak, because it's not everybody who is embracing this agenda the way that you're doing. And so thank you very much for your leadership. Thank you.
How do I use it?
Earlier, it's Zuera. We will now proceed, hopefully, and be able to listen to the goodwill message that Her Excellency Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, sent us and wanted to share with you all.
I'm pleased to share a message with you today as we mark 60 years of Nigeria's independence. It is fitting that Kwara State has chosen to commemorate this occasion by inaugurating the first annual conference on gender equality. I would like to commend His Excellency, my brother, Governor Abdurrahman Abdul-Razak, for his trailblazing efforts in appointing a gender parity cabinet. This is significant to deepening democracy and setting an example for the rest of the world. Women's equal representation is not just a right in itself, it is a proven road to sustainable development gains. There's ample global evidence that when women are in power, their governance supports the well-being of entire populations, in line with the values of fairness, equality, peace, and human rights. This has become abundantly clear as we have faced the COVID-19 crisis. Women across the globe are rising for all. And as the example of Kwara State shows, there's no shortage of capable and talented women leaders like Bimi Saraki, who is currently serving as the Honorable Minister of Transport, Sarah Jubril, who has contributed to Nigeria's political development, and Yohana Kolo, youngest serving commissioner in Kwara State. Going forward, we must expand efforts to provide equal opportunity and equal space for women at decision-making tables. As we focus on recovering from this global crisis and strive to build resilient and inclusive societies, women's equal participation in all spheres of life must be a priority. This includes targeted investments in supporting women-owned businesses and harnessing women's capacity in building sustainable green economies, women in politics, in the banking sector, and strengthening public institutions. In the private sector, we urgently need to address the barriers that hinder women's progression into the executive level, including unequal pay, workplace discrimination, and harassment. We must continue to ensure that our health systems are adequately funded, to ensure that the women seeking health services and those who make up the majority of frontline workers have their health and livelihoods protected. These investments are backed by gender-responsive budgeting and robust gender-sensitive policies that mandate women's equal and fair participation in society. This is the only way we can ensure the integrity of our institutions and democracy. It has been 25 years since Nigerian women joined other women delegates in Beijing to demand gender equality. We must be ready to support the next generation of young women and girls in the areas of education and entrepreneurship. Educated and financially independent women make for stronger, more resilient communities. This is especially important as we look to bolster the economy in the post-COVID-19 recovery process. Kwara's young women are innovating everything from technology hubs and cosmetic brands to catering businesses and social enterprise. They are today and tomorrow's leaders. I urge all of us to stand behind them in realizing their potential, free from fear of violence and with full confidence in their abilities. The United Nations is committed to support of Nigeria in this regard. In that spirit of partnership, I wish you successful deliberations today and send special greetings to all my mothers, daughters, and sisters of Kwara State. Thank you.
Allow me now to reiterate and echo what has been said in those goodwill messages and to thank again His Excellency Abdurrahman Abdurazak for making this event possible in the first place. We will now begin with our first question of the day and bring forth the idea of national strategies. How does the executive branch can take the lead in ensuring increased women participation in government and the economy? To speak on this matter, we have Her Excellency President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, former President of Liberia, who will begin.
Excellencies and distinguished guests, allow me to stand on the already well-expressed protocol, but also to give due recognition to His Excellency, our host, the Governor of Kwara State, Abdulrahman Abdulrazak, and the First Lady, and also to Her Excellency, Amina Mohammed, the Deputy General of the United Nations. Thank you for the privilege of joining this important conference on the 60th Independence Day of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I would like first to offer my warm congratulations to you, Your Excellency, our host, and through you, to His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, for this important marker in the history of our sister country, one with which we have had such important ties and to whom we owe a debt of gratitude for the support for peace received in our perilous past. Excellency, the title of this conference and the stated gender equality goals speak clearly to what is truly necessary for us to achieve gender equality and ensure the full empowerment of women. But there is one fundamental requirement, and indeed the most difficult, the political will. And in Nigeria's case, the political will of leaders at the national, state, and community levels. You have demonstrated in Kwara State that ensuring parity in leadership positions can be done. You have moved the needle considerably. The numbers of women at the leadership level in the civil service and the numbers of female cabinet members are truly to be applauded. You have disproved the myth that there are insufficient women who have the experience, knowledge, and commitment to take on leadership positions. What you have managed to do, in spite of cultural and other barriers, helps us to use a different lens to view women's participation in public life and work, resetting the default from men only to men and women. The question might be why other states have been unable to follow this inspiring example. While you deserve high acclaim, let me offer a special recognition to the First Lady of Kwara State, Her Excellency Olufulake Abdulrazak, who has been your first partner in your efforts to promote greater gender equality. It appears that the national level may need some reflection and action, given the comparatively lower numbers in the National Cabinet and National Assembly. Two of the recurring obstacles that women cite for their absence in political life are the greater and harsher scrutiny they face, as well as the lack of economic resources, which are often required to run campaigns. This has been addressed in some countries by a quota system with assigned seats for women or through a zebra system in the slates of political parties. Some will say that this is favoring women and they should earn their seats in the same way as men. But if we take a dispassionate look at the current situation, the evidence is clear that it is actually men who have benefited from affirmative action for so many years. What women need, a level playing field, and a dismantling of attitudes which prevent women from advancing, buttressed by the commitment of political parties. Much of my life has been to dismantle those attitudes and our purpose is equality and domination. Like millions of other women, I have sons who I want to prosper in this world. What we want is justice and equality, and we believe strongly that benefit from a world in which we value the differences between women and men, but understand that these differences complement and facilitate poverty reduction and peace. My own journey to the highest office was far from easy. Harassed, forced to flee my country, and at several moments thought my life was over. I had hoped that my experience would be the last of its kind for women seeking public office. Yet, although there are a few others, I remain the only African woman who came to the presidency through a popular election. Your Excellency and dear distinguished participants, we will continue the advocacy for equality based on a hope firmly rooted in the fact that there can be no dispute that women are equal in courage, commitment, and competence. We thank you, our host, again for what you have done toward the achievement of this goal. Distinguished participants, all of our countries were hard hit by the COVID virus and its impact on lives and economies. While the early forecasts for staggeringly high numbers in Africa has not been borne out, there is still the possibility, if we fail to continue to take the required measures or are unable to access vaccines through the solidarity pledged and demonstrated by many countries from the early days of the pandemic. The COVID virus taught us several lessons, but I will highlight only two. One is that humankind can only survive if we work to reduce inequalities, showing solidarity and compassion to each other, and are gentler with the earth. The second is that the leadership of women in many countries during the COVID crisis were recognized and celebrated because they were so effective in their response efforts. I have learned that many women experienced higher levels of intimate partner violence during the height of the COVID crisis. You and other leaders have shone a spotlight on that, making some good progress on prevention and response. I appeal to you and to other participants in this conference to ensure that this focus and effort remain even post-COVID. If there is legislation which is still pending which will offer victims of gender-based violence, female and male, greater protection and redress, I encourage you to ensure its passage or domestication in your state or in your country if you're from the international community. And perhaps last but not least, your efforts and investment in women's leadership at all levels give us hope that women in Kwara State may see one of their own succeed you in good time. Excellencies, distinguished speakers and participants, I thank you once again for inviting me to join you on this important occasion. I thank you particularly, Mr. Governor, for all that you have done. May Nigeria continue to be a strong voice for Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Her Excellency Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf, for reminding us of your outstanding and inspiring journey all the way to the presidency of Liberia, along with raising and championing Kwara State for the strides that have been made in terms of gender equality, and also raising the question, why aren't all states of Nigeria able to implement the same kind of policies? I think that will be a nice segue into introducing the Minister of Women Affairs of Plateau State, Dame Pauline Talen, who will also speak to national strategies and how the executive branch can take the lead in doing increased women participation in government.
Thank you very much, moderator. I want to start by thanking our dear host, my brother, the Executive Governor of Kwara State, and his dear wife, my dear sister, Dr. Mrs. Olufolake Abdul-Razak, for hosting this first annual Kwara Gender Equality Conference, which is very apt on this very significant date as Nigeria marked her 60th independence anniversary. I want to also specially acknowledge our big sister, Her Excellency Ellen Johnson. Thank you for taking time to participate on this very, very important conference. I acknowledge my dear sister, Amin Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General, acknowledge all the members of the panelists, His Excellency Mr. Sidia M. Tunis, my dear sister Comfort Lamti. I want to acknowledge our dear sister, Her Excellency, and a great gender champion, the wife of the governor of Ekiti State, and the chair of the coalition for women, first ladies that are fighting against rape and gender-based violence, supported by her secretary, our hostess, Mrs. Olufoleke Abdul Razak. I also want to acknowledge the First Lady of Mariam of Sokoto, Mariam Tambuwal. Today, as I emphasize, is very unique and significant. I want to emphasize the need for the executive to have a good working relationship with other arms of government, particularly the legislature and the judiciary. Already the governor of Kwara State, being a trailblazer, has done what has never happened in the history of Nigeria by having a more gender-sensitive cabinet. I commend you for this great feat, and I know that history will remember you for good. And as our big sister rightly said, you will cap it up by ensuring after your 8 years tenure to ensure that a woman takes over from you. The way you are going, I know we'll get there. Once again, congratulations. I want to acknowledge the great support the federal legislature is enjoying, because we have a very good working relationship at the national level between the executive and the legislature. And that goes a long way to help the fight against rape and gender-based violence. When I present a memo in council and the president come out clearly to condemn it and announce zero tolerance to it, the Senate President acknowledges them and condemns it. The Speaker of the House of Representatives did so. In fact, during the screening of all the female ministers, because of the good working relationship between the National Assembly and the executive, even before our swearing in, the Senate President gave a special treatment to all the 7 female ministers that were nominated by Mr. President. We were given special preference, and we were not drilled as other ministers. They simply requested, after our introduction, we just take about and go. And that strengthened the working relationship between us, and we are building on that day by day. I also want to what the governor of Kwara State has done is leading to better results in other states. I've just returned from a tour of some states. I've just covered 4 states, and each of these states I go, I make reference to what state has done by having a more gender-sensitive cabinet, and that has yielded very better results, because some of them vowed to increase the number in the cabinet. Some of them are preparing for their local government election, and they promise that they will involve, because I lobbied for more presence of women at the local government level and even at the world level, and they all reassured me. Why? Because they've seen clearly what the governor of Kwara State has done, and you know everybody likes competition. They are trying to struggle to get to that. So I really commend what the governor of Kwara State has done. I also want to cite the need for closer working relationship with civil society and the organized private sector as a stopgap measure to provide technical expertise and financial support where necessary. In the case of fighting against gender-based violence and rape, I saw clearly the very high support my ministry has enjoyed from not just the legislature and the judiciary, but also the civil society organizations. There's need to also pull that and strengthen that working relationship with them. I want to emphasize the need for commitment to the cause of women by the executive branch as the policy arm of any nation as the yardstick. This means that the policy language must be as simple as possible to ensure that everyone understands the goal, which is for a better society. I want to cite the need for better understanding of issues by the executive. If we have more women occupying the seats and well positioned to accept the fact that they have the responsibility to those who voted them in, especially women, who constitute majority of the voters. There's need to emphasize the need for women to sign a pact with their leaders before the election as a strategy to hold them accountable. I also want to cite the example of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He has appointed 7 ministers to occupy strategic positions, and all the ministers, the female ministers, I must say, are doing very well. You'll agree with me. The Minister of Finance, he has put women in strategic positions. The Minister of Finance is holding that position for the second term since his assumption in office in 2015. That shows women have proved themselves worthy to be trusted, and that calls for more. I keep reminding him that that is a clear example, and for the remaining of us, so far, none of us will fail. Mr. President has also done well by appointing the President of the Court of Appeal and also a woman, a female from Kwara, to head the Federal Character Commission. We also have a female Deputy Governor in charge of the financial system to stabilize the financial system. I also commend the 9th Assembly for its gender responsiveness despite the low number of women in the National Assembly. You'll agree with me that the Deputy Senate President he proposed the bill on sexual harassment on women and girls in tertiary institutions, and when I went to commend him, he said it was not just his bill, that it was the bill of the whole House. So we can see clearly that our National Assembly is becoming more gender. We are now working and strategizing towards the 2023 election, where we can have a better representation. I commend the vision of those who are doing well in the he for she champion. Our number one he for she among the governors, of course, is the governor of Kwara State. We also have Lagos State, who is doing very well. Of Ekiti State, and setting a very clear and example as not just being the chairman of the Governors Forum, but he's also leading by example. We have the governor of Sokoto State, the governor of Kaduna State, the governor of Ebonyi State. I just returned from, and out of 13 local governments, he has appointed 4 women as chairman of local government. He facilitated and ensured 4 were able to send through the election, and out of the 13 again, where the chairman is a man, a woman is the deputy chairman. And then out of the 30 local governments, all the secretaries of the local governments are women in all the 13 local governments. That is highly commendable, that other states should see and follow suit. I also want to acknowledge and commend the Chief of Air Staff for his focus on bringing more women into the Nigerian Air Force to break the glass ceiling. The Chief of Army Staff has taken a bold step in creating an all-women army. Today, we've just come back from the Independence Parade, where the parade was conducted 50-50. 50 women and 50 men participated in a very excellent parade. It was amazing, and that's highly commendable. The first time in the history of this country where we had 50-50 representation at our national Independence Parade. Thank my dear brother Shubham Chaburi, the country director of the World Bank, for his work on the girl, child, and gender-based violence. We are working towards ensuring that something better comes up. We recently with the Honorable Minister of Finance, and she assured me that she has since to the World Bank, because the problem of gender violence has reached an alarming state in the country, and I must commend the wife of the governor of Ekiti State, who is leading the coalition, supported by the wife of the governor of Kwara State again, as the secretary of this committee. I once again thank all those who are participating on this first annual Kwara Gender Equality Conference, and more praise to you, Your Excellency, our host, for doing so well. We are praying for you, and we know that greater things are coming your way. The women will never fail you. I thank His Excellency Honorable C.D. Tunu, one of the panelists. Thank you all for listening. God bless.
Thank you very much, Alan, for reiterating the need for greater executive, legislative, but also with the civil society and private sector, but also for reminding us of the need for better literacy and understanding of the women inequality, as well as Her Excellency, the obvious, and telling us that women they can hold the highest offices and leadershiply. Thank you both for addressing this part of our conference today. We now will chat multilateral approaches to the question of gender. What is the role of ECOWAS in the struggle to increase female participation and social protection? On this, we have His Excellency Speaker Tunis CD of the ECOWAS. If you would like to, please have the floor.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start by the Kwara State government and all the planners of this conference to participate in this high-level panel discussion on how to shape actions and policies in West Africa to improve women. It gives me a great honor to share with Africa's first female president, Her Excellency Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and other outstanding female personalities, ideas and advanced recommendations on the development of women in Africa. This is a boast that seeks to afford women across our region the chance to be equal and full voice, participation and leadership everywhere and in every aspect, for making the case that we need an essential role to realize humanity's needless and vital projects of sustainable development, peace, and security. Through this invitation, to participate and presents the role of ECOWAS in the struggle to increase female participation and social protection, answer a few questions. What are the real issues facing women across our region? Have we taken to have them addressed? Are we making progress in our efforts to have these issues addressed? If no, what is hindering from making real and substantial progress towards addressing issues of women? The answers to these questions could be diverse, and the approaches to having them addressed could be different. However, the fact remains that women of Africa have demonstrated through their life and work and their leadership in government, diplomacy, and social norm that they make a difference. Not just a small difference, but a big and critical one that will continue to push them further in all we do. ECOWAS as an institution has made significant progress in addressing women issues and securing a participatory framework for women. Since its formation, ECOWAS has adopted several instruments and established institutions to secure social protection for women and increase their participation in governance. One of such instruments is the Supplementary Act on Equality of Rights between Women and Men for Sustainable Development in the ECOWAS region. The Act was adopted by the 47th Ordinary Session of the Authority of Heads of State.
3 o'clock here on Women Radio WFM 91.7. We'll be rejoining a live broadcast shortly after the news.
Movement to inspire and to break the culture of silence. Here is 91.7, the voice of women, the voice of women, the voice of women. 91.7, the voice of women, the voice of women, the voice of women. 91.7 WFM 91.7.
The Kwara State Government launches its first annual Gender Equality Conference with prominent gender rights advocates and diplomats from Nigeria, as well as policy leaders drawn from across the ECOWAS sub-region and beyond. The virtual conference, Think Galvanizing the Wheel to Take Actions on Gender Equality and Women Empowerment, is being broadcast on Women Radio WFM 91.7 and jointly hosted by Kwara State Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak and the First Lady Olufolake Abdulrazak. The conference features a high-level discussion geared towards shaping actions and policies to improve outcomes for women in the West African sub-region. Delta State Police Command has declared a former Minister of State for Education, Chief Kenneth Gbagi, wanted for dehumanizing 4 workers in his hotel and his refusal to honor invitations by the Commissioner of Police, Mohammed Inuwa. In the statement issued by police spokesman Onome Onovokwakbayaya, the command urged members of the public to provide information of the whereabouts of the former minister for his immediate arrest. The governor of Abia State, Okezie Ikpeazu, has signed into law the Abia State Violence Against Persons Prohibition VAP law. The executive endorsement of this law is a culmination of months of collaborative effort championed by the State First Lady Nkechi Ikpeazu to have a statutory backing against all forms of violence against persons, especially those within vulnerable groups. This identifies Abia as one of those states that have criminalized all forms of unjustifiable violence against persons. And over to the foreign scene, the Women's Empowerment Principles established by UN Women and the United Nations Global Compact offer guidance to businesses regardless of their size or sector. According to UN, Thailand has done comparatively well in terms of women occupying senior roles. The United Nations noted that 24% of Thailand's chief executive officers and managing directors are women, compared to an Asia-Pacific average of 13%, and globally, that figure stands at about 20%. And in sport, a football-specific digital media company released figures highlighting the growth of women's football. The company said the figure also highlights the firm's recent focus on women's football, with the firm sharing videos from clubs such as Arsenal Women Football Club, Manchester City Women, and Chelsea Football Club Women. Today marks 6 years and 161 days since our Chibok girls been captured, and 2 years and 214 days since the abduction of Leah Sharibadi Abdiel. Women Radio calls for the safe release of all our girls still in captivity. Women Radio demands justice from the government for victims and survivors of sexual abuse. If you have been sexually abused, please contact a sexual assault referral center near you. Women Radio urges to observe all precautionary measures against COVID-19 and stay safe. Happy Independence Day to Nigeria from Women Radio 91.7. And now we'll return to the live broadcast of the first annual Gender Equality Conference. Good afternoon.
WFM 91.7.
Exception having 42.7% of its parliamentarians being women. We must change the trajectory and tap into the rich capacity of women. Today, I share this stage with Her Excellency Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Africa's first female head of state. The story of her leadership is awesome. She led the Republic of Liberia for 12 peaceful years and brought significant economic and human development to a nation that was devastated by 14 years of civil unrest. During her tenure as chairperson of the Authority of Heads of State of ECOWAS, I watched her mediate and secure peaceful resolution to political crisis in the Republic of Gambia. I am talking about a woman affectionately called the Iron Lady. No doubt, there are many of her kind out there. All they seek is a platform to excel and be who they actually are. It is therefore the prerogative of regional and multilateral institutions like ECOWAS to provide a space for women development and participation. At the inauguration of the current session of the ECOWAS Parliament on 9th March 2020 in Niamey, Niger Republic, where I was elected Speaker, I emphasized that the integration of gender perspective into our mainstream politics and conflict management is key to designing an inclusive and effective development program for ECOWAS. I expressed the commitment that working with the ECOWAS Gender Center and civil society organizations, we shall seek to explore avenues to build local capacity of women's groups and networks in peace building and conflict resolutions. We shall also endeavor to identify and remove obstacles to women participation in mainstream politics, peace building, and mediation activities in ECOWAS states. I lamented that we have spent decades talking about the importance of gender equality and development. And while we talk, the situation of women and girls in ECOWAS states is at further deterioration. We need an accountability framework that ensures that we all live up to our commitments to solve gender issues. In particular, promoting women's access to resources, strengthening their economic capacities, improving the visibility of their contribution to the regional economy, and ensure equal access to women to basic social services. Right here at the ECOWAS Parliament, there is ECOFEPA, an association of female parliamentarians that have organized themselves to champion gender issues. I have expressed my commitment to work with them and promise to fund their programs. I am hopeful that resources coming out of this conference will be one that will boost our collective efforts at increasing female participation and social protection at the level of our social, political, and governance structures. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I want to thank the Executive Governor of Kwara State, His Excellency Abdulrahman Abdulrazak, and the First Lady, for the special recognition that has been accorded me and the great steps the Kwara State government has taken towards achieving its gender equality goals. You have done immensely well, Your Excellency. I am very proud of you, of your achievements you have made. I also see this opportunity to wish His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and the wonderful people of this great federation, Happy Independence Day. Once again, it has been a pleasure to have me address this forum, and on behalf of the Bureau, members, Secretary General, and staff of Parliament, I wish you fruitful deliberations. I thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency Tunisidi of ECOWAS, for sharing the regional organization's agenda when it comes to gender inequality and for painting such a thorough and comprehensive picture of the situation as it is today. Thank you very much. I just wanted to, before we move on to the next subject, to remind our audience that we have a few media houses covering this event today, namely Women Radio, the BBC and CNN, along with Radio Kwara and Premium Times. So this is a conference that is highly monitored by media houses, not just in Africa, but also overseas. So when we speak of gender equality and in any given region, we cannot overlook the role of international financial institutions and the strategies they have to put in place to reduce gender inequality through loans and grant programs. Is there potential for gender-centered conditionality in these programs? This is a question that we will answer, and we will first give the floor to Mr. Shuham Chowdhury, World Bank Country Director for Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Your Excellency, Governor Abdul Razak, for really the honor and privilege of joining such a distinguished panel with Her Excellency President Johnson Sirleaf, Honorable Minister Dame Pauline, and the First Ladies, and the Speaker of the ECOWAS. It truly is a privilege to join you on this occasion of the 60th anniversary of Nigeria's independence. As was just mentioned, I've been asked to talk about what we at the World Bank are doing to promote, to help Nigeria promote gender equality. I will come to this issue of, conditionalities and loans and grants, but I really do want to step back from thinking of the World Bank as just a bank. I mean, we're really here, I keep saying to everyone, we're a development cooperative. We provide financing, yes, true, but more than that, we'd like to think ourselves as, members of we're a development cooperative. Countries around the world are members of this cooperative, and we're really here to help each of our members advance on their development challenges, and gender equality or addressing gender inequalities is one of the core development challenge in so many countries and here in Nigeria. And we'd like to do that in a whole way, not just through our financing, but with any way that we can support. So let me begin with, we did a World Development Report in 2012 on gender equality. And the basic message of that report was a very simple one, but also a very profound one in many ways. It was that promoting gender equality is not just the right thing to do, but it's also the smart thing to do. Okay? So it's the right thing to do for all the reasons that we've heard already, and I think it's pretty obvious to everyone participating in this webinar. But why did we say that it was the smart thing to do? Simply because if you think about an organization like the World Bank, our mission is to reduce and eliminate extreme poverty all over the world, to promote the well-being of the bottom half in every country that we work in. From that perspective, it turns out, and again, this may be obvious to those participating in this webinar, but was not always obvious to the broader development community, that promoting gender equality is actually central to this broader development goal that we all espouse. So in other words, if we are here in Nigeria and elsewhere, if we are to help Nigeria lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty, eliminate extreme poverty, and then promote, better lives for the majority of Nigerians, that will not be possible without addressing the inequalities, the gender inequalities that currently exist. And that's, in a way, has informed how we've approached our program. Okay, and so before I turn to how we've approached our program, just let me make that case for why it's a smart thing to do in the Nigerian context. Okay, so, and I want to focus on two aspects of this, which is in terms of economic opportunity and in terms of health, human capital outcomes. So in terms of economic opportunities, I mean, there's a lot of evidence that in Nigeria, like in many other countries, but in some ways more pronounced in Nigeria, women and girls do not have the same access to economic opportunities as do men. Again, may seem obvious, but to actually put numbers on this and, break it down, you will see lots of state level variation as well. And then this is where, the role of the executive governors. I said this at a meeting that we had with the Northern Governors Forum last week or a week and a half ago. I said the role of executive governors in taking on this mantle of leadership in promoting, and I should mention absolutely the first ladies as well in kind of championing this is critical, because there's a lot of variation from state to state in access to economic opportunities for women, whether it's access to finance or even on the farm. The yields from plots and then the crops that women tend to grow versus men tending to grow, and whether they receive the same kind of support in terms of agricultural extension services or access to seeds. In terms of human capital, one sees this equally. In Nigeria, there's an issue with low levels of human capital more generally, and boys as well as girls across Nigeria, and in particular in the north, too many of them are out of school, but girls, and especially adolescent girls, the attrition rates even if they happen to be in primary school, by the time you get to secondary school, the majority have dropped out for a variety of reasons. So the point why we think addressing these kinds of inequalities is so central is, first, unless Nigeria is able to harness the economic power of Nigeria's women and girls, young women, this whole idea of inclusive growth, of raising and creating jobs for all of Nigeria's youth, of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty will not be realized. Second, in terms of harnessing the demographic dividend that Nigeria has. Nigeria has a young population. The median age in Nigeria is 17 and a half years old. And Nigeria is on the cusp of really what could be a demographic takeoff, in the sense that the number of young Nigerians coming off working age is about 3 million a year. Is going to keep rising. The dependency ratios are going to keep going down. This is kind of the period when most countries have the potential to grow and to really make that transition into upper middle income status. So Nigeria is entering this demographic period and has this demographic dividend that lies in front of it, but without harnessing and paying attention to the human capital of Nigeria's youth, and in particular Nigeria's mothers and daughters, that demographic dividend will not be realized. And why mothers? I think it's pretty obvious, but the empirical evidence is also there. Mothers are central to the well-being of families, to human capital of families. So that's this, so the first part, why we think in the Nigerian context, addressing these two aspects of gender inequality are so key in terms of economic opportunities and in terms of human capital. Now, let me turn to, what the main elements have been so far of our support. But before that, I should perhaps say a little bit about the World Bank and the particular role and mandate that we have, because you may have noticed that I have not said anything about political representation and the inequalities in the political space. I remember having a discussion with Comfort Lanty of UN Women about, what we at the World Bank could or could not do about those issues. So a simple fact is that our mandate from our Articles of Agreement back in 1944 or 45 say that the space we are meant to work on development and to effectively stay out of the political space. That's what it is. The interlinkages between the political space and the development arena, I think, are obviously there. But for the moment, our focus has been on purely development space, which is, so as I mentioned, economic empowerment and human capital. How have we engaged, in this area? Well, in terms of financing, we have a number of programs, including some large-scale programs. I think the Honorable Minister of Women's Affairs was there at this meeting with the Northern Governors Forum, where we talked about a $500 million program that we're helping several of the northern states advance, trying to keep adolescent girls in school. It's called Agile, Adolescent Girls Initiative for Learning and Empowerment. And the whole idea is, how can we help these states where girls are dropping out as soon as they hit puberty, just around 12 or 13? How can we help those communities, those families, keep their daughters in school? And as you might imagine, there are multiple dimensions to this. Part of it has to do with the supply of schools. No parent wants to send their daughters far away. So making sure the schools are nearby, making sure there are more female teachers. At the same time, many young girls are important to helping their families get by. So even if parents want to send their daughters to school, they may not be able to afford to. Not because schools require money, but because the girls, by hustling on the streets or hawking on the streets, are a source of income. So that program is an effort to get at all of that, and it requires, a collective effort from the government. It requires advocacy. It requires, civil society groups and communities to come together. We have a similar program, $100 million program, which Honorable Minister will be very familiar with, called Nigeria for Women. That's around helping self-help groups among women. It's because a lot of economic empowerment begins with, empowerment. Generally, the sense that of the possible. We have across many of our other programs, we have components that specifically address things like access to finance or helping women with agribusinesses. In general, at the World Bank, we have a requirement that all of any fund that we provide for government has to go through this screening of, is there a way that this program can be made gender responsive, in the sense that there's a particular dimension of a gender dimension that would help enhance the development impact of this program. It could be about roads, it could be about energy. It doesn't have to be specifically about women and girls, but we always look at, are there opportunities? Is there a way that taking into account the gender dimension would enhance the development impact of the program? And so that is true here in Nigeria as well. And beyond the programs we finance, it's, we have a whole, we've structured all of our engagement in this around what we call the Nigeria swag engagement. What is swag? Supporting women and girls. So some of the financing that I mentioned is there, but beyond that, we have a whole host of analytic, advisory, and advocacy activities where we hope to support and strengthen everyone else who's working in this area. I've said to many of the executive governors or honorable ministers when I meet with them that please do not think about our financing, think about all other ways that support beyond financing that we might be able to provide, whether it's lessons from other countries, analytic work, help with just-in-time TA. So we try to do all of that. Last, and then I'll close, is a bit about how we operate the modalities. Many of you will know that we are not a donor. Please do not think of us as a donor. We are here as, Nigeria is one of our shareholders. We're a development cooperative, and we are mandated to work through government. So any support we provide and any financing is really a source of financing for the government's budgets. So any success we have comes through the success of our government partners. Okay, so that, as you might think, recognize, it means that it's key who are the government partners we work with, and it's also key that we don't have the full flexibility to work on anything we choose as we choose. So it's the conversation, it's the partnership with government partners, and this is where working with so many of the state governors Abdul Razak is pretty, excellent example of this. What we can hope to get done really depends on the ambition and the leadership of the government partners we work with. And what we've tried to do increasingly, and this comes back to your point, Anana, about conditionality and grants, is we can be selective in how we approach and work with our government partners. So with the Northern Governors Forum about Agile, we said, look, we would be very happy to have this financing flow through to you, but we need some indications of your commitment, demonstrated commitment to this agenda. Are you willing to, make sure that schooling is free? Are you willing to commit your own state funds, internally generated revenues, to hiring more female teachers, women teachers? Are you willing to ensure that, do what it takes to kind of prevent early marriage so that girls can continue to attend school, or that there be no restrictions on any girls attending school? So there are ways that we can do that, but it's always has to be, at the end of the day, our government partners are the ones who have to take the leadership, and we can only line up behind them. So let me stop there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shubham Chaudhuri, for reminding us that it's not always about the money. No, but more seriously, for just clearing some of those misconceptions that we might have about the World Bank and ways in which financial institutions can support the fight for gender equality, and also the fact that it boils down ultimately to political leadership and will. We'll now hear from Mr. Kwimantara, who's also World Bank Country Director of Liberia, so your counterpart, on the similar theme and the similar question.
Thank you very much. Let me also start by thanking our host, the Honorable Governor of Kwara. Let me also recognize the former President for the Republic of Liberia, Honorable Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and permit me to stand on all the other protocols already established, and first to wish Nigeria a happy 60th anniversary. For me, Nigeria is a country that is close to my heart as well. I spent close to 6 years there as part of the World Bank. So it's a pleasure that I'm part of this panel today to speak on this very important subject. I won't add too much to what my colleague Shubham has already talked about with regard to the way the World Bank works. Maybe just to also highlight a couple of things. First, as he rightly said, that for the World Bank, promoting gender equality and women empowerment is not only the right thing to do, but also the smart thing to do. And because of that, globally, as a World Bank group, we have a strategy on gender that also provides a framework for us in terms of how we support our partner countries, our member countries, which, as Shubham said, are our shareholders. So they have a stake in the World Bank, and as we support them to promote gender equality, we have a gender strategy which tends to look at how can we approach the whole issue of supporting our partners achieve gender equality and economic empowerment. So first, it focuses on the fact that we need to help promote human development or human endowment. This is where we focus our support on health, education, to make sure that women, our girls are healthy, that they have access to education. And then secondly, we focus on ensuring that women and girls have access to more and better jobs. And then thirdly, we also focus on our support to ensuring that women and girls have access to ownership of assets, be it lands, be it financing. And then finally, the whole issue of voice and agency, because we do realize that if we're going to ensure gender equality by ensuring that girls and women have access to good health, education, they have access to jobs, they have access to assets we do realize that overlaying that environment are institutional constraints and social norms that could prevent them from having access to these sources of livelihood as well as endowments. So that sort of framework is what gives us a guide when we engage with our government counterparts in designing the sort of interventions that Shubham was talking about. And in this context, let me also add the fact that we tend to have two sort of instruments, financing instruments, especially when it comes to financing. The first and most common instrument that we're known about is what we call project financing, where we sit down with our government counterparts in designing specific projects with specific activities that will be implemented by government-established project implementation units. So that would be the second sort of financing instrument. The second instrument is what we call budget support. This is where we provide direct budget support to our government counterparts to help fill a financing gap. And when we use that instrument, the financing is provided on the basis that that government has implemented some key policy and institutional reforms that helps create a conducive environment for whatever development challenge